You okay?
Howdy.
You
How's it
sounded
going?
like you were choking.
Clear my throat, you see.
Oh,
I'm a vocal expert.
is it because I was late again?
No, not at all.
Oh, sorry, I am all over the place today.
I've
Uh,
only just got out of bed, so it's all
oh,
cool.
here's me rushing around like, oh crap, I don't want to keep Aiden waiting. And I still
No,
kept you waiting.
that's
but,
cool, man.
oh, how have you been this
Um,
week?
um, ups and downs. I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's quite boring, but I've got something wrong with my left ear.
Oh, yeah, you said you're,
Yeah, it's like you don't realize how much it can affect the rest of your body. It's
really?
amazing.
Do you
Like
have like balance issues as well? Is it that bad? Because I know
it
like,
is cut. It was for a day or two because yeah, it's like there's this pulsing pain deep in my ear, and it's
oh,
like I can't do anything about it because it's in my ear, so I can't like put my finger in and try relieve pressure or whatever.
yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I couldn't work out. Work was hard. Yeah, it's just been a pain, but that's easing up now. Trying to think what else I've been doing. I finally made it onto speedrun.com leaderboards.
Oh, okay. So what's out of how many? What number are you? Where do you
I'm
rank
29 out of 30.
in the world? Though you gotta like.
I know, yeah. 29 out of 5 billion.
There you go.
So, yeah,
20.
I did 2 runs on Sunday. One was like on par with my personal best, and then I immediately started another one, and that one was better. And I was like, oh, I got 2 good runs in a go. I'll submit one of them.
Nice.
And yeah, you have to submit it, and it has to get approved. Like they need to check that all the stuff you've used is correct. And yeah, that got processed and put through. I think Monday morning or Sunday morning.
Is there quite like a? Because I imagine like loads of people who might use cheats and other methods to like speed up their runs.
Yeah,
Um,
so some people like submit runs, but what they've done is they've spliced together their best levels. So they'll
oh,
play each level individually until they get like best possible times on each level. Then
yeah,
they'll edit the video down so it looks like one continuous run.
yeah. How can you possibly like detect that?
I'm not too sure, so that's why I do my streams via Twitch. So there's no way of that happening. So it's yeah, I'm not sure. I think some people, like whoever it is who's moderating it, knows these things pretty damn well. Obviously, if someone makes their first submission and it's world record pace, that's going to bring up suspicion.
Yeah.
I think when I submitted mine and it was like 29th, they were like, oh, this guy's not going to be, he'd probably want to go middle of the table if he's going to cheat. So, yeah, so my plan is to now beat that and get under an hour, which would put me like 16th in the world. But yeah, also Mad Kirk got onto leaderboards for Jump King as well.
Where's he ranking?
Let me find him now because he's been doing awesome. I'm not going to say that I inspired him to try speedrunning.
But you basically did.
Mad Kerr is 137 out of 303.
Yeah.
He's doing really well at Jump King. And yeah, that game is super hard. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a platformer where all you can do is jump.
Is it kind of like a Super Meat Boy, like really?
Yeah,
I want to be
yeah.
the guy or whatever it's called.
Those are the games he's been playing recently.
Oh.
Yeah. He is really good at I Want to Be the Guy. He was planning on speedrunning one of those.
I've seen videos of that. It just looks insane. Like, I don't know how people have the patience for that. I'd die like 2 or 3 times and I'd be like, right, that's it. Goodbye.
If you haven't played I Want to Be the Guy, imagine. So this guy's created his own game out of assets from popular NES games.
Yeah.
But he trolls the shit out of players. So you could be like running through Mario World 1-1 and one of the blocks would just fall and hit you in the head. Just out of nowhere for no reason. So you need to know next time, oh, that block's going to do that. So you go to jump over the block, but the next block over goes upwards and that will kill you. And it's, yeah. But yeah, Jump King is a 2D platformer where all you can do is jump and it's in the 8-bit style. And Yeah, I think first time he played it, it took him like 8 hours to beat, but now he can beat it in 6 minutes.
Hmm.
But it's all precise inputs, and like that is a very competitive game because it's so people just trying to optimize movements.
Yeah, I can imagine like the smallest little like pixel movement. Oh, it just makes my head hurt trying to think about it. Oh,
Exactly, yeah. But apart from that, what else have we knew? I got a message actually from a friend who listened to our podcast and had photos of Rob Lice's match against Carlito.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I got sent some of those. That was cool. Thank
You
you.
send them on to Rob. I'd
Oh,
love to
that's a
see
good
those.
shout. Yeah.
'Cause
That was
and
Brendan Touchett for
yeah,
doing
he
that.
said there wasn't any footage of it, but I'm sure he'd be happy to have some photo. Oh, our guest is here. I'll
Ooh.
just let him in.
I feel bad now because I haven't asked you how your week has been.
Same like you know me, like a meteorite could hit my apartment block, and I'd be like, yeah, not much has happened this week. Not really. Same old, you know. Like no matter what happens, my week has been boring.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, here he is. Our guest, Dynamite Soul, Eric Walker. Can you hear us? You there?
Yep, I can hear you. 1 second. Let me try and get this audio to flow into my headset. It is not doing that.
This
Awesome.
is the lowest budget podcast you've ever seen. So no matter what you do, the audio is going to be terrible. And I was having issues with my mic before. Turns out I just had to plug it into a different USB port.
Hooray.
And of course, it didn't go in correctly the first time. I had to turn it the other way. Then it didn't go in. Then I had to turn it back the way it was the first time. And it goes in like every time with a USB port. You have to
You guys
try it
hear
at
me?
least twice.
Is it sound like I'm talking twice or anything?
No,
No,
you
you're
sound
beautiful and
great.
clear.
All right, no, okay. Well, we won't do that then.
Can you hear us okay?
Yep, I can hear you guys just fine.
Awesome.
Nice.
How have you been doing, my friend? It's been a while. I don't think I've seen you since the apocalypse started.
No, it's been what, 9-10 months at this point?
Oof. How have you
Yeah,
been dealing with the apocalypse?
I'm dealing like everybody else. Like I said, I haven't stopped working. So
Oh, can you let our listeners know what your occupation is? Because this is fascinating to me.
I'm U.S. military.
Yeah, America. And when I hear that, I instantly think like Black Hawk choppers and like machine guns and explosions, Team America. Yeah, feel free
Well,
to like
I
explain
can't
like
necessarily
your.
go into what I do, but yeah, I'm sort of involved in all of that.
Awesome.
To a small degree.
As well as being a professional wrestler on the side, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me.
And just got to learn how to balance your time.
Did that take you a while to balance?
Not at all. No.
Really?
Okay.
No.
Well, like, no, sorry.
The only when I first came in, when I got moved to the new station, it was kind of in an isolated part of the country. So you guys know where Canada is, right?
Yep.
Vaguely. It's like America's hat.
Yes. I was about 5 hours from Winnipeg, and the only promotion within 8 hours, like the promotion in town, had just shut down.
Oh, wow.
About a month before I got there. So I was trying to get into shows in Winnipeg, and then eventually a company came back, and then I started with them, and then I kind of expanded out from there. But no, it has never been a problem for me to wrestle and do this, my job.
Well, I guess with that job, they're going to teach you the skills to balance time in that, aren't they? So that sort of feeds into it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've gotten so much better with time management and just getting things done that had I not came in, probably wouldn't have happened, or I wouldn't have developed them.
Wow. So like I can't think of any, I don't know about you, Ada, but I can't think of any wrestler who's like military part-time and is doing the wrestling thing.
Sergeant Slaughter.
I have discovered it's more common than you think.
Okay.
Really?
Yes. When I was stationed in Korea, there was no less than 4 of us in the
Get out.
promotion.
In Korea. Of all places, the Korea being like I can't imagine. I can't think of any Korean professional wrestlers. Full stop.
Well, with Korea, it hadn't been really a thing. Like wrestling isn't a thing over there up until recently.
Yeah.
Back when like the NWA and everything was still running, there was a Korea affiliate, but not since the late 90s, early 2000s. They hadn't had any independent, like they had like little small ones here and there trying to start up, but nothing ever concrete, you know?
Yeah.
And Dong Hee, the guy who runs Pro Wrestling Society, said, you know what, I'm going to try and bring wrestling back to Korea.
Wow.
And I just had, and the story of me getting hooked up with them is funny in and of itself.
Go for it.
So I get to Korea. Now, naturally, I'm researching places to see if, there's wrestling there because, hey, it's another country on the list.
Yeah.
And there was nothing but some stuff that it was hard. I didn't know Korean streets or how to track down something in Seoul. So I said, I just keep an eye on it. I'm at work one day and one of the guys who works under me, he says, hey, Sergeant Ligon, did you know there's wrestling in town? And I'm like, no, what are you talking about? And I guess on one of the local pages or whatever, somebody had posted a flyer for a show that was starting up.
Oh.
So naturally, I get a little giddy.
Yeah.
I message him and, just started talking with him. I think that Saturday I went up to, because he had already gotten the ring, the venue, and everything. It was just like setting up the logistics with it because him and their champion were the only like really trained wrestlers. So he was trying to like get people spun up in time for this show. And luckily there were like between me and two other wrestlers, like one of the wrestlers was married to a local. So he was there. There's another base in the southern part of the country and I was there. So we kind of filled out the experience part of the show.
Wow.
And, I went up there, started helping them train guys and, the show was a damn good one. Had the first match and all that, and that's pretty much started. And like a year late, like maybe 6 months later, we did this massive show in this gymnasium. We had I can't remember her name. Some of the not Stardom girls, but what's the other big one? Ice Ribbon. Yeah, some of the Ice Ribbon Joe.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember everybody, but there was some pretty notable people there.
Cool.
So I was proud to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So you're quite the world traveler. But let's go right back to the start. Tell us how you came to what your first time you saw wrestling was, and when you decided, I want to do that.
The earliest memory I have is a buddy was over my house and I was just flipping through channels and I can't remember what it was. I always say it was Hogan, but 2020 hindsight, I can't remember what it was. All I remember is like, oh, cool, wrestling. And he's like, yeah, my family doesn't like me watching wrestling. So, I respected him, turned the channel. The next big memory was I was being babysat by a friend of the family, and she had this massive TV in her basement. So, I'm just flipping through channels, and it just, and I still remember the image to this day. It was Kane and X-Pac in, I think it was No Mercy, the pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
And the gimmick happened where Tori got hurt, and then Kane, went into the cage and everything. Like, I thought it was China, but I'm sorry.
This is like this was just when I started watching wrestling as well. And as a kid, I was such a mark for Kane. Like he was like a god to me. And I remember when Tori turned on him, like I was furious for weeks. Like it got me down. Like, and then I think they had like it might have been a cage match or something, or an ODQ match where X-Pac pinned Kane with the stairs, and that I think that threw me into depression for like a month. I hated X-Pac's guts. I never had such fury against another human being as I did for X-Pac. I would beat him up in the wrestling games over and over and over again because he'd hurt my hero and he'd pinned my hero. That feud was a feud of my childhood.
I remember the night that happened. it was basically like win the services, and Kane lost, and everybody was sad for Tori. But then she turned. Yeah, I remember that whole storyline. And I didn't have as strong a feeling about it, but I know where you're coming from, Ben.
It broke my heart, let alone his. Oh, poor Kane. Sorry,
but ever since that particular moment, it was just like wrestling was the thing. And where I grew up in the States is really into basketball. And I'm like, I don't care about basketball. I want to wrestle. And when I graduated high school, I went to college. And you guys know that the U.S. was full of, the territories.
Mm-hmm.
And the capital of my state is called Indianapolis. And one of the towns on the old circuit ran through there. There were still some local guys around. And they're like, hey, we're going to start a show. We're going to start training people. If you want to come in and take a bump and see if you like it, you're more than welcome to come down. Did that. And I'm like, yep, screw basketball. This is what I was always meant to. This is what I was always meant to do. And 12 years later, we're still at it.
Beautiful.
I guess you were right then.
Yeah.
So can you remember what your first training session was like? Was it scary? Was it the ring like ridiculously hard?
So where I trained at was in a garage, and where I'm from is notoriously cold.
Yeah.
So it's the middle of December, and there's no heat in this building.
Good old
And
wrestling training.
The ring, and in training, the ring was always like once you got moving, you didn't feel it, but the ring was substantially harder than usual. But just getting them to try and get me to take a bat bump, because you have to turn your brain off.
Oh yeah.
When doing that. But I'm just like, you know what? I will figure this out. This is what I want. And we didn't start training until like maybe 2 or 3 months later, like toward the springtime. But like the whole time I'm just excited because okay, like I figured it out. I found a training school. I found out how to get into wrestling. The WWE is just a quick step away. But I still remember it very vividly.
Mm. Who was like the first guy that you looked at and was like, not that you want to emulate them, but like you had a connection with?
I guess The Rock. The Rock has always been, in terms of that, the one I always identify, because everybody loves The Rock. The Rock is the coolest. The Rock, he says all the cool one-liners. He has all the cool moves, the cool look. It's just like, that's what you want to be. That's what you want to emulate. So at the point, I have to point to him.
And how like mind-blowing is it? Like his career has taken off like so much. Like most people don't even realize he used to be a wrestler now. He's just like this like god of like movies and positive motivation, and he's just like one of the biggest superstars in the world now. It's insane to me.
He is like the highest paid actor in the world, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yep. I think it just goes to show that there's really no ceiling on how far you can go.
Yeah.
You talk about coming from the family dynasty and all that, but the fact that he took it so far, and he just like, man, I started with this $7 in my pocket and all this other stuff, and now I've become this. It's pretty much the best success story that you can see and want to emulate.
Yeah, like, I can't wait for him to put out an autobiography or somebody to do like a documentary on him. It'd be amazing. Like, what was that basketball documentary that came out? The
Last Dance.
Yeah, I'd love to see like something like that for The Rock. That'd be incredible.
You know what? He has never written a book, has he?
He wrote like an awful, like I think it might have even been in character one. Like he was referring to himself as The Rock. Like that was like back in 1999, and it was awful.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, even the show about him growing up, I feel is going to be good.
Oh
like,
yeah,
I may
coming out soon.
I may make a point
like
to
Young
actually
Rock
watch that.
It's actually like, is it actually? It's not
Young
a documentary
Rocky?
though. It's like a
Sitcom.
Is it like a sitcom or is it more of
It's like a sitcom. It's just like it's basic. Are you familiar with the comedian Chris Rock?
Yes.
So you remember his show, Everybody Hates Chris?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's the vibe I'm getting is essentially like that. It's just trying to comedic or accurate retellings of all these incidents that happened to him when he was growing up, because you know he was around all these wrestlers and everything.
Yeah.
So that's
Um,
kind of the vibe I'm getting.
The book you're thinking of is The Rock Says by The Rock.
Oh, God. Yeah. It was that awful point of time, like Mick Foley's book came out, I think, and I think they tried to like jump on that, and China came out of a book, Kurt Angle
This-
came out of a book.
Well, this is like 1999, so think of the stories he's had since then.
Some of the best stories, but I wonder, like, he like keeps his image very clean now, so I'm not sure if well, he might delve into the darker side of wrestling, but I'm not sure if he'd tell.
See,
all at this
I don't
point.
feel like he has many of those like dark side stories. You know what
Yeah.
I'm
That's the
saying?
thing. Like, there's not really much dirt on the Rock, which is incredible and speaks to his character. But yeah, you never really hear. I don't think I've heard anything bad said about the Rock by any wrestler.
No, God
The
no.
only thing I could think of is when his match with Mick Foley, with the chair shots, and Mick Foley was upset because the Rock gave him more chair shots than they'd agreed at the start of the match.
Ah,
And also after the match, the Rock didn't come and check on Mick to make sure he was okay. That is the only thing I can think of where anybody said anything, bad about him or
yeah.
negative.
Yeah, that is the only thing I could think of as well.
So, how long between you starting training and your first match?
Let's see. By my count, I'd say 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
Pretty quick.
Did you feel prepared, or were you nervous as hell, or both?
I was nervous as shit.
Yeah. Was it a singles match?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
It was pretty much a squash match, and nothing went wrong.
Yeah.
And then the second match where we actually got some time, it was a shit show.
Wow.
So this would have been whereabouts was this?
2008.
Nice.
So how did you get from there to wrestling outside of the US? How long were you in the US before you were moved abroad in the military?
So I was 25, 24 when I enlisted. They sent me to North Dakota for 4 years, and then I went to Korea, and then I came for a year, and then I came here.
Wow.
So I've only been abroad about 3 years, but I've lived in the US my entire life prior to that. And
What was the biggest culture shock you found going from America to Korea, if any?
well, the number one thing is I don't speak the language.
Oh yeah.
That was the number one thing. I requested to be sent to Japan because I at least have a child's grasp of the language.
Really?
Mhm.
Not enough to have a full-blown conversation, but if you drop me in like in the middle of Fukuoka and told me to get to Narita, I could, and only I had to speak in Japanese, I could do it, however broken, if
Plus-
needed.
So where did you pick that up?
College.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yes. I meant to get a minor in Japanese, but I was a bit of a dumbass, so I didn't get that. So I just did language study.
Well, that's mind blowing. I don't know about you, Aidan, but for a British guy, that's mind blowing to me because my options were like in school French or maybe
French,
Spanish,
Spanish, or German.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, maybe it was German.
Yeah, it wasn't until I got to college when there was like a minor, not even like a full-blown course on Japanese. It was like in between, like during lunch breaks, you can go to this thing and do a bit of Japanese.
Yeah.
No, we don't have that option. But it doesn't surprise me because like, America and Japan have that relationship while we don't. We have those relationships with France and Germany. So obviously our languages to learn would be those.
Sorry, Eric, so you were saying about the culture shock of the language.
There really wasn't much of a culture. Like I Korea was never one of those countries I expected to like end up in. It was just a gateway for me to either go to Japan or come to Europe. But the Korean people were extremely, nice. I never had obviously I stick out like a sore thumb, whenever I walk, and it was painfully obvious, but no one ever bothered her or asked me. I lived in town, like I didn't live on the base. Like I had my own apartment
Oh, nice.
in the area, and the landlords and everything else, my realtor, they all treated me, nice and everything else.
What was
Cool.
the food like?
Oh man. So they have these places where you have a grill in the table, right?
Mm-hmm.
You basically get the you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, where you get your own meats and you kind of like grill them over the middle of the table.
Oh yeah, I love those things. A lot of the Korean food I didn't really like because I'm real nitpicky about taste and whatnot. And a lot of the spicy and the sour stuff I just can't get with. So
I know they do like their spices.
yeah, so that kind of stuff I'm not a big fan of. But I have a literal box sitting behind me as we speak of just like how how you have the carnivals and whatnot had the crane games with the really nice prizes in them.
Yep.
But they're kind of rigged.
Yep.
They have those in Korea, but if you're good enough,
yep,
you can get the nice prizes out. And I literally have a box just full of anime statues that I got from the machine that was around literally every day. I would go from work, I look in the machine and see if there was anything nice in there that I wanted or I could sell. And I spent about 20 minutes and like $20 getting a $50 statue out, and I'd flip it for more or keep it. So that burned up a lot of my paycheck, but it was well worth it. It was well worth it.
It's the same in Japan. Like you'll go to these and there'll be 2 floors of the crane games and just these people who know what visual cues to look out for. And they're like, if I do it this way, then I can do it. But me just going, burp, 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 I'm not going to win. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. When I was in Japan, those I gave up on because I'm like, man, I'm going back to Korea. I could actually win at those. I'll just go in the store and buy it. I'm not about So, but yeah, that's how the Korean ones are a lot. They're still tricky, but you could actually win them if you know what you're doing.
Okay, so you spend, how long did you say? 4 years in Korea?
1.
1 year. And then you were shipped over to the UK.
Yes.
How did you find that? Culture shock.
I hate driving over here. When I came over here the first time, I was taking public transit. I was up near Newcastle, and I kind of just took the train from there all the way down to London, and the promoter and everybody else would just kind of like take me around to the venue and my hotel and everything else. But once I started living over here, I'm just like, I hate roundabouts.
Oh yeah, you don't really have them in the US, do you?
You in very select places.
Okay.
But the roundabouts are the worst thing.
Mm-hmm. They are awful to learn because there's just so much wrong with them.
That and your guys' parking situation is atrocious.
Yep. I hear this a lot, like having to pay for parking.
It's not even the paying for parking. It's just like if I want to go to the kebab shop in my town, I kind of have to sort of illegally park just to run in there and get my food and go about my business.
Yeah.
And don't get me started on the airport parking.
Oh God.
Like, so if I'm home in Atlanta, we have what's called parking flies. You guys have them here, but you pay like $10 for the weekend. Leave your car. You fly out Friday. You come back Sunday. You paid maybe $12. That same thing here cost me about $60 US.
Yeah, it's stupidly expensive here.
So outside of that, I have absolutely no problem. I like it here.
Did you have any knowledge of the British wrestling scene before you came over?
Yeah, I wrestled here back in 2017, 2020,
Okay.
2015, 2016, sometime. I can't. It's one of those years.
Because I feel like as a British wrestling fan, we know a lot about the territory system because it's sort of ingrained. If you want to be like sort of a quote unquote hardcore wrestling fan, eventually you hear about the territory days and stuff.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of British wrestling fans that don't know a lot about the old British wrestling and like World of Sport and the round system. I was just curious what your thoughts were or are on the old British style, the rounds and all that.
You know what? I'm pretty sure you guys have heard me make the joke in ring that I watched. You know, I've watched my World of Sport. I enjoy. There is just so much that the new school can learn from the old school style. Like I love watching British wrestling because, like Johnny Saint and all those guys are so technically sound, and it's real. It looks athletic, and it looks like a struggle is taking place.
Yeah.
So, even when I was in Korea and I knew I was coming, I'd pull up, hey, how many Johnny Saint matches, like what Johnny Saints, or hey, Rollerball Rock or any of the other British guys, like who can I watch? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I learned, and I made sense of the British round system. It's one of those cultural things. Like I get it. And I think it's interesting and unique because you guys make it work. It's almost like knowing where the dips in the match are going to happen and where like the crowd knows, okay, hey, it's the last round. It's 1-1. Who's not, then the intensity picks up and the exchanges start happening. Who's going to come out on top? It's almost like it's ingrained as to what. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking, but it seems like it's ingrained as to the crowd knows how to react because of that.
Do you think that style could ever come back, or do you think if you try to give it to a modern audience?
Absolutely. If it's done correctly, yeah, anything from the old school could come back if it's done right.
I mean, Ring of Honor's doing the pure wrestling again, aren't they? Which is sort of like it. Have you had the chance yet to do a British rounds match?
I have not.
Ooh, we'll have to change that somehow.
Hopefully before I leave.
So, yes, there is a company. Is it Premier Promotions? They still do it. It's really cool. Like they do everything like it was done 30 years ago, down to their audio system, which uses mini discs. I am not kidding. And they still have a phone line that you can call and hear what the upcoming matches will be.
Wow.
It is the promoter. Oh, I can't remember his name. He's come to some of the Rev Pro shows. But he is a really nice man. And I got to go train with Doug Williams and them for a show. And yeah, they still do round systems. And the crowd they draw is typically older, but they get really into the rounds. And it's very technical, like you say.
I may have to dig into that because I definitely want to. I want to do it.
Oh yeah, if you want, yeah, and it's not far from where it's just outside of Brighton, so
that's not too far from me.
Yeah. So it's doable. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Hope we can do it.
Let me make a note about that.
Yeah. I'll put a note on my thing to try help with that as well. Yeah. I'll try and get the details for you.
Appreciate it.
Because some of the guys, I remember Walter and Timothy Thatcher once asked me if that promotion was still going.
I can imagine they fit in well there, like especially Timothy Thatcher.
Yeah. Because it is like tag matches of rounds. Every match is a round, so they're like 3-minute rounds. You get 5 of them, first to 3 falls, kind of thing. Yeah,
I'm 100% down for that.
Yeah, and it completely changes your mindset on how to build a match because you've now got, rather than just like your normal heat comeback pin, it's like, okay, how do we build drama around a 2 out of 3 falls match?
Yeah.
And we only have 3 minutes each time.
You know what? I'm actually working on a new video series, and I may do some research and have a little discussion about that. About how that can be like learning how to wrestle like that.
Yeah, it's sort of like a mental exercise for you, like in wrestling creativity.
Right, because you guys have heard me mention it. Every vet you'll hear will talk about slow down, kids, slow down. You're moving too fast.
Yeah.
And I've heard it for the past 12 years, and it wasn't until I can't even remember the exact point that it just clicked. There's a guy named Jared Gannum who runs the Inner Squared Circle. It's a big program that has helped a lot of guys. I don't know if you guys know Killer Cross and NXT, Hammerstone and MLW. He's helped a lot of guys that I know personally. Like he helped coach them to sort of develop their characters and all that. But he's also he helped with like AEW's Double or Nothing, or it was all in a Double or Nothing. It was one of their first pay-per-views, and he had a hand in help producing that. And one of the things he put forward was there's a match with Rey Mysterio and The Undertaker. The first round of a WWE championship tournament. And the match is from the matches on YouTube from start to finish. The match is about 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Undertaker's on the bike at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So his intro takes at least a minute and a half. So with entrances, it's about, you've already lost 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So Undertaker and Rey Mysterio, 2 main event level guys, are going to have this match for the WWE Championship match. They're not rushing. They're not speeding through anything. It genuinely felt like a big fight championship match that literally only went, if you count from bell to bell, maybe 3 minutes and 30 seconds. But they did not rush, and they still told a story. Like, obviously the size difference, Ray has to fight from the bottom. They told that story, and it was literally just signature spots. Ray ducking and moving, signature spots. Undertaker gets the win. And like when I saw that, I'm like, oh my God. And you see guys rushing, trying to make stuff work, and I'm like, you don't have to do that. And I always point to that one match. Like, if you really want to know what they mean by slow down and let stuff register and sell, it's that one.
Cool. We're going to take a quick break because we're running out of time. Should we be back in just 2 minutes?
Yeah,
Sure
that's
thing.
fine.
Cool. See you in a minute.